Every spring, somewhere in Port Colborne, a ship wakes up. The crew arrives, the systems come online, the stores get loaded, and what was, for several months, an enormous piece of cold steel slowly remembers what it was supposed to do. This is called fit out. It's unglamorous, it's exhausting, and it's absolutely essential. 3 days of it this time around. Then, when everything is ready, you leave. Backwards. Through Lock 8, through Port Colborne Harbor, and out onto Lake Erie, which would be straightforward enough, or straight backward enough in this case, except that on this particular day, Lake Erie had other ideas. The fog rolled in as we cleared the lock, thickened as we crossed the harbor, and by the time we reached open water, it had closed in completely. The bow thruster, which had apparently also woken up from winter and wasn't particularly happy about it, chose this moment to start behaving oddly. And if you look at the map in the corner, you'll notice that at this precise moment, it also has no idea where we are. Visibility 0, bow thruster questionable, GPS somewhere in the middle of Lake Erie. First trip of the season, perfectly normal. Lake Erie is, depending on who you ask, either a Great Lake or a badly tempered inland sea with an identity crisis. On this particular crossing, it couldn't decide what it wanted to be either. Sun, cloud, rain, fog. Sometimes all four within the same hour. 12 hours from Port Colborne Piers to Cleveland Piers. The Algoma Buffalo, freshly woken up from a winter nap, didn't seem to mind. She'd done this before, thousands of miles of it. She just needed reminding. Cleveland, the Cargill dock. Now, under normal circumstances, I take one tug into this dock. I know the dock, I know the approach, and the ship handles the rest pretty well. Except today, the bow thruster was not entirely trustworthy. Having spent the last hour of the outbound crossing doing whatever it felt like. So we took 2 tugs, not because anything was wrong exactly, but because in seamanship, 2 tugs and a plan is considerably better than 1 tug and a story. loaded 12 hours worth of salt, left on one tug, and prepared to deal with the bow thruster once we were clear of the river. Which we did. But first, we had to wait for the Willow Street Bridge to open, because the bridge operator decided at this time he needed to use the bathroom. 10 minutes. We had to stop and wait on the Cuyahoga River for 10 minutes for a bathroom break. This is, I should point out, a perfectly normal part of commercial shipping. Outside the prescribed environmental limits from shore, with the bow thruster now recalibrated and behaving itself, we wash down the conveyor system. We use lake water and run the residue off the side of the ship. The 2025 shipping season is officially over, and the 2026 season has just started. The return crossing was better. Lake Erie had apparently said all it needed to say on the way to Cleveland and was now prepared to almost behave itself. We made our way back to Port Colborne through Lock 8 and into the canal. Not far, as it turns out. Wharf 6 is in Thorold, and that sits right between Lock 8 and Lock 7, but close enough to Lock 7 that you could almost touch it. No lift locks, no drama, just the canal and the wharf. And 5 holds of road salt for municipalities across southern Ontario. They stock up early, you see, because by the time the roads actually need it, the ships that bring it won't be able to get through anymore. The season closes, the canal drains, and the salt has to last. We were, in a small but genuinely important way, ahead of winter. And winter on the Great Lakes doesn't wait for anyone. The Algoma Buffalo tied up to Wharf 6, the conveyor swung out, and the first load of the 2026 shipping season was delivered. Job done. So that was it, the first trip of the 2026 shipping season. 3 days of fit out, 12 hours across a lake that couldn't make up its mind, 2 tugs in Cleveland because prudence is cheaper than paperwork, 10 minutes waiting for a bridge operator to finish his bathroom break, and a bow thruster that sorted itself out once we asked nicely. And the holds are full of salt for roads that we will never drive on. The GPS has found itself again, and the Algoma Buffalo, as it turns out, hadn't forgotten anything at all.